I'm your host, and today we're diving into a topic that strikes fear into the hearts of would-be olim everywhere. Making Aliyah when your FBI background check isn't exactly pristine. Fair warning, this episode contains mature themes like unpaid parking tickets and that time you accidentally downloaded a movie in college. So there I was, excited about my Aliyah application when I encountered those 4 terrifying words. Criminal background check required. Suddenly, every questionable decision I'd ever made came flooding back like a very uncomfortable highlight reel. Let me paint you a picture of the modern Aliyah criminal background check process. You need an FBI report with a federal apostille, background checks from every country you've lived in for more than 6 months since age 14, and probably a signed confession from your kindergarten teacher about that time you stole someone's glue stick. The FBI website cheerfully informs you that processing takes approximately 8 to 12 weeks. 8 to 12 weeks. That's enough time to commit entirely new crimes while waiting for your report about old ones. But here's where it gets interesting. Israel's immigration policy has to balance 2 competing impulses. Every Jew has the right to return to their homeland, versus we really don't want to become a refuge for international criminals. It's like being caught between your Jewish mother saying, "Come home, boobele," and your Jewish mother saying, "But not if you're a troublemaker." The law of return specifically states that visas won't be granted to people whose criminal record suggests they might be a danger to public safety. But here's the beautiful part. They have to evaluate each case individually. It's like having your own personal judgment day, but with more paperwork. I spent weeks obsessing over my background check. Would they care about that speeding ticket from 2015? What about the time I accidentally kept a library book for 6 months? In my defense, it was hidden under my couch, and I did eventually return it. The real panic set in when I remembered my college digital piracy phase. You know, back when downloading a single song took 47 minutes and felt like performing a heist? I started drafting my defense. Your Honor, I was young, Napster was new, and I will survive seemed really important at the time. But the Israeli authorities are surprisingly reasonable about this stuff. They're looking for patterns of serious criminal behavior, not people who forgot to renew their car registration. The evaluation considers factors like the severity of the crime, how long ago it happened, evidence of rehabilitation, and whether you seem likely to reoffend. It's like they have a whole criminal report card system. Well, he did jaywalk repeatedly. But look, he's shown remarkable growth in his crosswalk usage over the past 5 years. The appeal process is particularly entertaining. If your initial application gets rejected, you can submit an appeal explaining why you're not actually a menace to Israeli society. I imagine these letters are comedy gold. Dear Ministry of Interior, regarding my 2003 conviction for public urination, I was 19, it was Mardi Gras, and I've since developed both better judgment and a stronger bladder. For minor offenses, they sometimes offer what's essentially a trial period. You get temporary status while they watch to see if you'll start a crime wave in Tel Aviv. It's like probation, but with better hummus. We're going to let you live here for a year, but if you so much as litter on Dizengoff Street, you're out. The Shin Bet gets involved in reviewing criminal background cases, which means Israel's Internal Security Service might spend time discussing whether your college marijuana possession charge makes you a national security threat. I like to imagine that conversation. Agent Cohen, we need a full threat assessment on this American who once got caught with the dime bag in his dorm room. Sir, that was 15 years ago, and his biggest crime since then is putting pineapple on pizza. Dear God, he's worse than we thought. The most famous criminal rejection in Aliyah history was Meyer Lansky, the American mobster who tried to immigrate in 1970. Israel eventually expelled him, proving that even being Jewish and having a really good lawyer won't help if you're literally a member of organized crime. There's probably a lesson there about knowing your audience. But here's what's actually beautiful about this system. It recognizes that people can change. If you can demonstrate genuine rehabilitation through community service, stable employment, or just not committing crimes for a really long time, they'll often give you a chance. It's redemption, with a side of bureaucracy. The background check requirement has actually led to some unintended comedy. One friend spent $300 getting an apostilled FBI report that came back completely clean. Apparently, his biggest legal transgression was forgetting to vote in a local election. Another discovered he'd been living as a criminal for years because of an unpaid jaywalking ticket he never knew about. My personal favorite story comes from someone whose background check revealed a disturbing the peace charge from a noise complaint, filed by his own roommate because he practiced violin too enthusiastically. The Israeli authorities approved his application, probably figuring that anyone committed enough to classical music to get arrested for it would fit right into Israeli culture. Host, so there you have it. Making Aliyah with a criminal record isn't impossible, just complicated. The key is honesty, documentation, and maybe not mentioning that you still feel guilty about that overdue library book. And hey, if navigating criminal background checks while planning Aliyah sounds overwhelming, maybe it's time to call Easy Aliyah's VIP concierge service. We speak fluent bureaucrat, and we've seen worse criminal histories than yours. Trust us. Until next time, remember, everyone deserves a second chance, especially if you can prove you've learned to use crosswalks properly.